Hi everyone, how are you doing? Right, we know that the World Cup is increasing from 32 nations to 48 nations in 2026. And today we're going to be looking at which nations could potentially take those 16 spots. And we're going to be bold. We're not interested in Italy. We know they'll be there. This is 5 surprise nations that will be at the 2026 World Cup. Number 1, Jamaica. Jamaica haven't been at the World Cup since 1998, but I'm backing them to be there at 2026. Remember, Canada, USA and Mexico are hosting the 2026 World Cup, therefore they've already qualified. And the CONCACAF is getting additional spots because the World Cup is increasing to 48 teams. Therefore, they've got a really good chance of qualifying this time around, with their main competition most likely being Costa Rica and Panama. The head of the Jamaican Football Federation, Michael Ricketts, has made some radical changes in philosophy over the last few years. He's decided to target the European leagues for eligible players to increase their talent pool, even if they played for other countries at youth level. These include the likes of Damari Gray, Morgan Gibbs-White, Rico Henry, Max Aarons, and of course Mikel Antonio, who made his debut for them a couple of years ago. It's an interesting philosophy. It has worked. Like I say, Mikel Antonio's made his debut. They've also given debuts to the likes of Ravel Morrison, Ethan Pinnock, Daniel Johnson, and they've still got a pretty big list of players that they want to attract to play for Jamaica. They appointed Jaime Helgrimsson as their new manager in September 2022. You'll know him as the dentist that managed Iceland when they knocked England out of the Euros. Helgrimsson stated that Jamaica has a lot of potential, and he likened them to Iceland when he managed them a few years ago. He's here for the challenge and he has a lot of confidence that they can qualify for the World Cup, and I do as well. I wish him luck. Number 2, Norway. Norway missed out on a place at Qatar, coming behind Netherlands and Turkey in their qualifying group. Due to injury, Haaland missed crucial games for them, which meant they dropped points, including their last 2 games, where they lost 2-0 to Netherlands and were held to a goalless draw with Latvia. Despite finishing second in their Nations League group behind Serbia, they had a pretty impressive 2022, including a double over Sweden and wins away to Serbia and Republic of Ireland. With the likes of Odegaard, Sorloth and Elanusi, they're by no means a one-man team, but there is no doubt that the goals don't come as easily when Haaland isn't playing. Norway are definitely one to watch. I'm backing them to be at the Euros in 2024 and the World Cup in 2026. I think they've got a big 10 years ahead of them. Number 3, Iraq. Now, the Asian Confederation will be getting 8 teams guaranteed for the World Cup, an increase of 4. And why do I think Iraq will be one of those 8? Well, let me show you their unbeaten run between 2019 and 2021. Yes, they went on an immense run during that period, picking up wins against Qatar, Iran and the United Arab Emirates. And we'll ignore that penalty shootout loss. So why didn't they qualify for Qatar? Well, this is the crux of their problems. The manager at the time, Katanek, resigned in July 2021 over an unpaid salary, and since then they've just had a torrid time with managers. Experienced manager Dick Advocaat took over, but he was only able to get 2 points from 6 qualifying games, and ultimately resigned in November 2021. Since then they've had a couple of stand-in managers, but they haven't been able to reach the heights of what they were doing in 2019 and 2021. And understandably, I mean, this is international football. You're coming in for a couple of games and 2 weeks training and then you're going back home. So you don't have that time to gel with a new manager and with a team. Ultimately, these backroom problems resulted in them finishing 4th in their qualifying group. But in November, they officially appointed Jesus Casas as their manager. He's had an impressive career in various scouting or match analyst roles, before becoming an assistant manager to Javi Garcia at Watford in 2018, and most recently assistant to Luis Enrique and Robert Moreno in the Spanish national team. Iraq are clearly a good team and they've proven they can compete in this confederation. Hopefully Casas can give some stability for them and get them back to winning ways, and I'm backing them to be at the 2026 World Cup. Number 4, New Zealand. For the first time, the Oceanic Football Confederation will have a guaranteed spot in the World Cup. And since New Zealand are the only credible football team within that confederation, it's safe to say they're going to be on the plane in 2026. Most of their players play in the Australian League, though they do have a few players across Europe, such as Marcus Dominic at Copenhagen, Elijah Just at AC Horsens, Matthew Garbutt at Torino, and Liberato Casesa at Empoli. And of course, captain Chris Wood at Newcastle, who, despite being 35 at the next World Cup, will 100% be on the plane. They haven't appeared at a World Cup since South Africa 2010, and with the new format, I think it's safe to say we're going to see them at more going forward. Number 5, Mali. Over to Africa, and Mali, who are currently 45th in the FIFA World Rankings, which is their best position since 2012. They're ahead of countries that we saw in the 2022 World Cup, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Canada and Ghana, so they're a pretty good team. They've got a solid midfield trio of Hadera, Decore and Bissouma. Unfortunately for Mali, the African nations have only had 5 guaranteed slots in previous World Cups, making it really difficult for nations to qualify. In the last World Cup qualifiers, they topped their group comfortably, but then lost the final playoff game 1-0 over 2 legs to Tunisia after scoring an own goal at home. Similar to Jamaica and Iraq, they sacked their manager Mohamed Magasuba and replaced him with former player Eric Shelley. For 2026, Africa will have 9 guaranteed spots in the World Cup. I'm backing Mali to take one of them. And there you go, 5 surprise nations that will be at the 2026 World Cup. Am I bonkers? Have I lost the plot? Tell me in the comments, like and subscribe. Speak to you again.